But I've got some interesting stuff to tell you about what happened today in the Senate. So let us briefly explore that. Good evening to Maddie, who's just joined in on the call with us. Good evening to I think that's Maureen, if I was going to bet my life. Good evening to Ruth and Julie, and to Nikki Greer. Good evening, Nikki, and thanks for joining with us. And yes, it is Maureen. I can see your name here. I hope you're well, Maureen. And good evening to Megan and to Toby and to Stacey Anderson as well. And Tammy Wildsmith, thank you for joining, as well as Will and Meredith Mitchell and Lynn. Good evening to you, Lynn. And somebody just got home, well timed. All right, so today in the Senate, we put up a motion calling on the Parliament to basically poke the government and say, get a bloody move on in relation to producing legislation that would safeguard the confidentiality of all people who give evidence before our Royal Commission into Disability Abuse, Violence, Neglect, Exploitation, and the like. Now, this is something which the Commission flagged as an urgent area where they saw a need for a legislative tighten up back in October. So the very first hearing of the Royal Commission in Townsville, Chair Sackville said to the government very clearly, this is an area that needs legislation, because the Royal Commissions Act as written offers confidentiality protections for the life of the Commission itself, and it does not offer those protections any further except under a particular type of hearing, which doesn't work for everybody. This is a simple fix requiring an amendment to the Royal Commissions Act that the government could have legislated with bipartisan support literally in the next sitting of the Parliament all those months ago, about 8 months ago. They have consistently failed to provide this piece of legislation. Myself and my office have driven ourselves spare trying to get hold of the Attorney General, trying to get the bugger to actually produce this legislation. And it got to the point this sitting where you're like, nah, not good enough, mate. We're going to basically put a thing to say, the Senate says, do your bloody job, get on, produce this legislation. That motion passed.